Hey guys, Mishka here, and today we're going to be making a recurve bow out of PVC pipe. So what are we going to need? We'll need, obviously, PVC pipe. 3/4 inch schedule 40 is what I use. That's what you're going to be looking for. You'll need something to heat the PVC with. So I have a heat gun. The heat gun is most of the time what you're going to want to use. A hair dryer will not work. You're going to need something to flatten the PVC with. So I've got a 2x4. Something to cut the PVC with. I use a hacksaw. Something to hold the hot PVC with. I use a towel. Something to cut string with. Scissors. Mark the PVC with. Sharpie. We don't need that. And bowstring. In this case I use paracord. So let's get started. I'm going to be making a recurve bow today. So we're going to use a 54-inch length of PVC pipe. You see I've got that pre-cut to 54 inches. Now we're going to mark 2 inches on each side of the center. So the center would be 27 inches. So that's right here. We're going to go 2 inches on each side of that. So at 25 and at 29. And that's going to give us our handle. So our handle is going to be 4 inches long right in the middle. I'm going to mark that all over so we know where that is. Along with that, for the recurve tips, we're going to go 6 inches from each edge. So 54 minus 6 gives us 48, so we'll go the 48-inch mark. We'll mark that. And then way over here at the 6-inch mark. Cool, we got it marked, we're ready to go. All right, so you've got your heat gun, you've got your PVC marked and cut to 54 inches with a 4-inch handle and 6 inches on each tip for the recurve. You're gonna take your heat gun and basically just heat one segment of the PVC. So starting at the handle, where the handle ends, and going all the way to the tip of the PVC pipe, you're gonna go down and back, rotate about 1/4 of a turn, down and back, rotate 1/4 of a turn, and do that for about 3 full rotations. Now it's important when you do this that you keep the heat gun moving. If you keep the heat gun too close or too still to the PVC, it'll burn the PVC pipe and create a brittle point, and we don't want that. That'll ruin the whole bow. So you keep the heat gun moving. We're going at a moderate speed here, not too fast, not too slow. Enough to get that hot air blowing on the PVC and heating it up, but not enough to burn it. So all the way down, all the way back, 1/4 turn. Also, make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area. I can't imagine these fumes are good for you. So I'm doing it in my garage with the garage door open. So down, back, 1/4 turn. Another 1/4 turn, that gives us 1 full rotation. We're probably going to do that about 3 times. So how will you know when the PVC is ready? It'll be squishy and it'll be floppy like a pool noodle. You can see when I picked it up it was still pretty rigid, so it's not ready yet. So we're gonna go 1 full rotation around again. See if it's ready by then. You can see around right over here, the PVC is starting to bend a little bit. That's a good sign. That means the PVC is starting to get flexible, moldable. It's exactly what we want. Alright, so I'm going to explain the process of flattening it because it does go kind of quickly. Once the heat gun is done, you can put it to the side, line up the PVC with the board, or whatever you're using the flattening with, to make sure that the PVC stays straight, because otherwise it'll wobble a little bit and go back and forth, which you'll see here in a second. Once you've lined it up and you make sure that it's straight, you're going to flatten the ever-living heck out of it. I put part of my board on the part of the PVC that isn't heated up. And then what that does is it gives it a taper. So it starts off thick and it gets progressively thinner as we go. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So I'll take my 2x4. We're gonna line it up because as you see, PVC is all floppy. So we're gonna line that up, make sure it stays straight. Ugh. Oh, nope, come on, work with me here. There we go. Put the PVC on the handle and then I just squish it. And now we just sit here and squish it until it takes the shape and it cools. Let's see, things to note while you're squishing it. The PVC does have a habit of, that's a splinter, of either rolling or not really twisting, but bending side to side. So once it's done solidifying here, we're gonna look down the pipe and make sure that it's not twisted or turned in any way, shape, or form. How do you know when the PVC is done? Well, you just reach under and you push on it. Right now I feel that it's still a little squishy. Be careful, don't push on it too long or you'll burn your finger. So still a little squishy. And let's take a look at that. Yeah, that should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look down the pipe and make sure that it's not turned or twisted. That looks good on my end. I'm going to turn it on that side. That looks pretty good. I'm going to look down it from this side. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Wow, that's straight. But as you can see, it starts off the size of the pipe and it gets progressively thinner and thinner and tapers down to where it's almost completely flat at the end. That's what we're looking for in this bow. What you don't want is you don't want the whole limb to be flat and then like a ridge where the handle is. You want it to get progressively there. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side now. Just heat the limb starting at the handle, going all the way to the tip. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, notice it's being difficult, so I moved the heat gun away from the PVC, but I did not burn the PVC. It's not wanting to stay upright, so there we go. Yeah, keep the heat gun moving. Well, we see it's starting to warp a little bit. That's a good sign. Get some hot air on the inside of that pipe too. There we go. Alright, and we're just about done heating the sucker up. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line it up on the 2x4. We're going to put the 2x4 on the handle and then squish the ever living heck out of it with the taper. Boom! Heat gun off, goes to the side. Make sure this is flat. And we make sure that this end over here stays flat as well. So as you flatten it, it has a tendency to roll, as you kind of see. You want to make sure that it stays centered with the other limb. So I'll turn this over here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, how it rolls like that. You want to make sure this stays flat as you're flattening the limb of the PVC pipe that's heated. So that should go right there. Now we're just flattening the PVC. And again, reach in, feel it, it's still squishy. So we just give it a little bit more time. And then when we pick it up and we make sure that it's centered, we want to make sure that it's centered with the other limb as well. It's not twisted, it's not turned or anything, that it remains straight. Still a little squishy, so we'll give it a little bit more time. If you take the board off and you take the pressure off before it's ready, before it solidifies, it'll just puff back up into a shape of a pipe. And you just reheat it and flatten it again. That's the beauty of PVC. If anything goes wrong, you just reheat it, it'll puff back up into its normal shape, and then you just go back to crafting. All right, yep, so you can see it's got that nice taper. Now let's make sure that this is straight with the other limb. Looks good to me. All right, cool. So looking down it, it looks pretty straight, I believe. So now we have a straight bow. If we were making a short bow, we'd be just about done. We would just angle the corners here and do the handle. For a recurve, we got another step though. We're going to make the recurved tips, and I'll show you how to do that now. All right, so we have our beautiful tapered limb here with the flattened tip, and we're going to reheat this flattened tip until it puffs back up again. Once it does, we're going to take it perpendicular to the angle of the bow, the flattened taper, and then we're going to squish it this way. And then put it at an angle. And I'll show you what that looks like. Thankfully, because it's only a 6-inch segment of PVC pipe, it doesn't take long to heat up. So we'll get through this relatively quick. The longest part of making the bow is heating up the limbs and flattening them initially. So once we got that taken care of, the rest of it is easy picking. So again, keep the heat gun moving as you rotate the bow. Last thing you want is to put a brittle spot on the tip of the bow, or really any spot on the bow. That's not good. That's where the bow will break. And it will break if you have a brittle spot. So the PVC is starting to puff back up here. You can kind of see it's no longer that nice flattened tip. So once it's puffed back up again, what you're going to do is you're going to flatten it perpendicular and give it an angle. Whatever angle you want the recurve tip to be at. The more of an angle it's at, the stronger your bow will be. But don't like go crazy. You don't want to like, if you can see there's a flattened part in the PVC, you don't want it to flatten out. You want it to be smooth. Smooth as it tapers. So I'm going to hold this a little bit longer, and then I'm going to grab a towel or whatever I hold my hot PVC with, and I'm going to do the other side. Squish it this way. Now it's still a little squishy. That's fine. I'm going to do the rest by hand because we squished it one way, we squished it the other way. Now by hand, I'm going to squish it. I'm mashing it and I'm pulling it up, and I'm trying to keep it centered with the bow and the handle. So I'll come over here. That looks pretty good right there. I'll just give it a little bit more oomph. So if you can see, it lines up pretty good with that limb right there. It's a little off center from this limb, but we're gonna fix that when we do the handle. So, oh, let me see here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more on this side. All right, cool. Now we'll do the other side. So we're gonna do the same thing again. Heat, shape, smash, make sure it's centered. Splinter. I can see it starting to puff back up. That's good. All right. We got that done, and we're gonna do the same thing. Put the tip of it under and squish. I swear I've got a splinter or something in my toe here. Apologies. So I'm squishing it about 20-30 seconds or so. Just enough so that it takes that shape. And then I'll squish on the other side. I'm kind of sliding it just to make sure that we get all of the recurve tip. And from here, I go back to hand, shaping it. Making sure that it is centered with the limb, which it is, and centered with the handle. If you can't get it centered with the opposite limb, it's not the end of the world. You might be able to see these these recurve tips are a little bit off center from each other. That's fine. We'll be able to fix that when we do the handle, which is the next thing we're going to do. So for the handle, we're going to heat up this segment, and then we're going to pull it up just a little bit, and you'll see what I mean. Essentially what we're doing is we're guiding the PVC in the direction we want it to go. If we were to cut the Nocks and string it right now, there's a chance that the PVC bow would slip, and instead of pulling this way, it would slip and come off this way. So we're gonna give the bow a little bit of a bend in the hand. And again, just like always, keeping the PVC, not the PVC, keeping the heat gun moving, not letting it sit still. Rotating the bow so that we get all parts of it heated up. We're just heating this 4-inch segment, and I'm putting pressure down as I do this to feel when it starts to give. So it should start to give here in the next 15 seconds or so. Yeah. You can see it starting to go. That's what we're looking for. Alright, so that's pretty heated up. Now again, what we want is we want the tips of the recurves pointed up. We're going to squish, squish, squish this and pull it up just a little bit. So squish, 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 squish. Squish, 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 and pull it up. So we're squishing the handle perpendicular to the flatness of the bow to give us a nice handle, and so that the arrow doesn't have to shoot so far around the bow. It's the archer's paradox. You can look that up. It's a whole fascinating thing. All right, so I've squished it. I've raised it. Now I'm going to make sure that this stays straight while maintaining a slight bend in it. Good. That looks straight to me. I'm gonna wiggle it on over here and see if I can straighten that up with the angle of the camera lens. Right about there. And the bow is starting to solidify, which is nice because it is straight. We can put a little bit more pressure there. There we go. And you see our bow is finally starting to take shape. So from here, we've got a couple more steps to do. We've got to cut the nocks. We're going to string up the bow, see what poundage it is. If it's within an acceptable range, say 25 to 33 pounds, then we'll finish up the bow by coloring it, making it look like wood, and then we're good to go. All right, so we've heated and we've shaped the bow. We have our recurve. It is nice and shaped and ready to go. So we're gonna cut the nocks now. So to cut the nocks, I always put something over my hand because I want to have a saw slip and cut into my finger. No more of that. Quite simply, you're just gonna cut a little slit into the recurve tip. I go maybe 1.5 inches down, and I'm just gonna cut. Maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, that looks good. So, you can see there, ow, another splinter. You can see there, that's essentially all it takes. That's all. You can see it kind of goes into where the PVC opens up in the inside. That doesn't make much of a difference. If you go more than like halfway, you're cutting into the structural integrity, but just a little slit like that is all you need. So I'm gonna do the same on the other side now. Come on, cover my hand. About 1.5 inches down. A little bit further. There we go. All right, so we've cut our nocks. Now let's get the string. We've got, here we go. To tie the knot, I tie a square knot. Ooh. Let's get that loop a little bit bigger there. So square knot, followed by an overhand with the loop itself on the knot. So that's gonna go over one end. You're gonna come all the way down, back again, and about to where the recurve tip starts, and that's where you're gonna cut your string. You're gonna make the loop. Again, tie a square knot. I think that was a double half hitch. Overhand loop. Boop. Okay, so we've got the bow shaped. It's still a little warm from the heating process. So instead of stringing it up and risking the fact that we're gonna bend the PVC and warp it while it's still warm, I'm gonna go ahead and start the removal process of all the ink. So you're gonna take some gritty sandpaper. It doesn't matter what grit, the rougher the better. And you're just gonna rough up the entire bow so that it's no longer smooth and smooth to the touch. Instead, you want it to be rough, and you want to get rid of all this ink. So we'll start from this limb going all the way down. You see I'm removing all the ink. That is the main goal here. We don't want any of that lettering showing. The tips can be a little difficult. Sometimes I leave them on just because, well, it's nice to have proof that it's PVC. So we got the lettering off. That's the most important part. Now I'm just gonna rough up the PVC, just going up and down. Creating basically a grain on the PVC pipe. This is going to simulate our wood grain for us. So we still got our Sharpie marks from when we measured out the bow. We'll get rid of those. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna do the handle. This is a workout. All right, got rid of all that ink. Get rid of the Sharpie ink. And we're gonna do that for the rest of the bow. All right, most of the lettering is off. We're almost there. So the bow is pretty much prepped for painting now, and it should be cool enough to work with. So let's string this sucker up, see what poundage we're looking at. What did I do with the bowstring? So, how do we know if the string is the right length? Well, sitting from the handle of the bow, the brace height should be about a thumbs up. So we're a little short, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unstring it and tie one overhand knot in it. So one overhand knot in the string. That makes the string a little bit shorter. And let's measure it now. A little bit over, but that's pretty good. That's sitting exactly where we want it to be. Ooh, that feels good. I've got a fishing scale. I'm gonna pull the bowstring back to 28 inches and measure where it's at. We are sitting at 27 pounds at 28 inches. That is perfectly acceptable for LARPing purposes. So, we've got our bow strung, shaped. It's within the acceptable poundage. How do we get it to look like wood? Well, we hit it with that sandpaper. We've got the wood grain. I'm going to show you the secret to making it look like wood now. Secret is shoe polish. Check this out. So yeah, you hit it with the shoe polish and all the way down, and look at that. It looks like wood. So I'm just gonna hit the entire bow with this. You can do a black layer first if you want. It'll give it a nice black undertone. It makes it look kind of like an older type of wood, or a darker type of wood. But for purposes of this video, I'm just hitting it with brown. But you see how much it looks like wood. It's fantastic. I used to sell these at the Texas Renaissance Festival, and I had customers argue with me about what they were made out of. All right, and there we go. We're gonna give that a little bit of time to dry, and then we'll string it back up, and I'll show you what the finished bow looks like. Oh yeah, that feels great. Tension is great. Here's what it looks like close up. So you can see that wood grain that we got on there using the sanding and the shoe polish. It looks like wood. It'll feel like wood because of that grain that we put on there. And yeah, well, it won't outperform fiberglass bows. It is something that'll get you at least on the archery field for about $10. So yeah, I hope this tutorial helps, and happy hunting.